At this point, Helmer.
Here.
Work.
Yes.
Brown.
Here.
Eiley here. Well, Butler's going to be an hour late, I understand. And Gordon and Webster are excused. It announced last meeting that they would not be here, so. But there are four of us, so we have quorum, so. At this point, we'll move on with the meeting. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, then we'll go on to approval of the agenda. It's on the back of this. So it's nice and short and sweet. Yes. It's page 1. Are there any comments, changes? Hearing none, we'll move on to page 2. Hearing none, page 3. All right. At this point, we'll do a roll call on the approval of the minutes. Well, actually, I'll entertain a motion first.
Do we approve the agenda?
I'm sorry,
I'd like to move.
I did skip it. Yes, well, are there any comments, changes, or anything to the agenda? Sorry, I jumped one. No? All right, then.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second, all right, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, the minutes. We already went through those, so. Or maybe we didn't, but do you have any comments on pages 1, 2, or 3, John? Anyone? No? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for approving the minutes as written.
Motion to approve minutes as written. I'll support.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. Sorry about that. Public comment, seeing none, no one here. Well, other than Zoom, is there anyone on Zoom? Not a thing. Okay, so I guess at this point we'll open and close public comment on the agenda items. Then we'll move into new business. A new business, should we discuss this?
Should that be new then?
Yeah, if you would like to discuss that now. Unfortunately, I don't have email on my phone right now, nor on this personal laptop because of the changeover. So I can't pull up some notes I have related to this memo. However, this was requested from Daniel to just kind of get a sense of the timing for the ordinance and the moratorium that we're in. I think the desire is just a reminder that we want to keep moving forward. And the recommendation, if we can get through everything today, to have our public meeting at the November meeting, just because of the holiday timeframe, the winter months. And this was mentioned at our last meeting too. We need to get comment at some time, so why not do it in November? See how that goes, and if we're ready, we could have a public hearing in December. Kind of based on how all that goes. So
And
that was,
remind me that the current moratorium goes through when?
I believe.
December?
November.
November.
But I
November.
don't know what day. Did you say December? November. So it probably would have to be, extended anywhere, at least, until.
I thought it read in here that they were considering extending it 4 months, but I didn't think we were in that kind of
that far.
no. I mean, I had in my head that we were extending it a month, maybe
Right.
Yeah.
2, but
Yeah.
depending on how it went.
So it was adopted in May for 6 months, so May to June, July, August, September, October, November. So then we
Did
would
it go into
extend
effect the
it.
day it was adopted or like the first?
Immediate effect.
It was,
Yeah.
but the middle of.
The second Wednesday. So the same for November, so extending it. If we have the public meeting in November, we'd have a public meeting in November, a hearing in December, recommendation to the board, January. And then I think there's still an effective period for the ordinance. So
What's that mean?
like once an ordinance is adopted, it takes effect after it's published in the
Oh,
paper.
okay, gotcha.
And then there's a period of time, it might be 14 days or
Okay.
30 days, I'm not sure if it says it here. So, yes, so it seems like the moratorium will need to be extended regardless.
So given what you just said, when would we be applying the new ordinances?
I would think
case
probably
study.
right around February 1.
Okay.
Right around that
All right.
time.
How much time does the board need to make, if they were to decide to do an extension on the moratorium? Is that something they can just pick up that meeting?
They would need a draft ordinance, moratorium language. I mean,
Okay,
we already have it drafted. We just have to, from the first time. So that would need to be updated and then put in the packet, and that packet is done for the board about a week prior to the November meeting. So,
I mean, we could, if necessary, do a special meeting.
correct. but it would be at the November 8th.
How long is the board gonna take to go through all this? It took us 2 or 3 meetings to get through this thing.
Oh, I thought you meant the moratorium. I don't know how long. I think the board would get the ordinance around the same time that you do your public hearing, so that the board has some time. with
Time to
it.
work on it.
But typically, the board, the reason the planning commission is appointed is to do the work
Yeah.
of that and that role and be comfortable in that role. And typically, things that we've sent to the township board have been supported kind of as written, as delivered and deliberated by the planning commission.
So they're not gonna
But
go
those
over
are.
it all over again.
Those are one,
Projects.
that's true.
I guess my question is,
Oh.
whenever it is, at the meeting that the board would vote on this, can we be assured that you and Cindy can be there, or Dave? Because
Yeah.
they're not gonna read this
Right.
before the meeting.
Or, yeah, of course, yeah, we would like,
I mean, I would urge, I think that's essential. I don't want to be the only one there, because I'm on the planning.
yeah, right.
But
It's like some other.
what are the headlines? What are the?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have an executive summary of stuff.
Yeah,
Here's what's different.
I don't know if that, we can definitely,
No, I assume that would be prepared for the public hearing anyway,
Right.
right,
so it's not extra work,
exactly,
but it might,
but have someone
it
there.
could take some time. I mean, I would hope it would, it's, you know, a lot of pages.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
so that might be January,
Okay.
Yep.
So are you looking then at Tuesday, November 21st would be the open public meeting with the stakeholders?
and the whole public.
I know, we
Yeah,
invite, I want to be
they would
clear.
all be invited,
We
yeah.
were discussing this before you
Do
came.
we have
put
that invite list from?
I still have it, but I mean, people don't know we have these meetings. So, you know, some people were assuming that everyone gets the e-blast. What do we have, 500?
Yeah,
Yeah.
3,000.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
So how you gonna publicize this?
well, it'll be something that's posted in the paper for the public notice.
I'm
period,
sorry
so-
to be negative, but most people I know in town don't read the paper. I don't think Stan saw his photograph in the paper, because most people don't read it. I'm just being kind of realistic.
No,
but
you're right.
They don't know.
I agree.
And this is, I guess you could argue that the fewer people, it's easier for us if people don't know.
That's not good.
But I kind
No,
of think
that's not what that is.
this is big stuff, and a lot of it is really, I think, and I think you all agree, is positive stuff to.
Yeah.
bring.
Yeah,
Yeah, how you get this communicated, that this is happening, John's point, a big deal.
And I think that before the meeting in November, wherever we are at with it would be posted on the website for review.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So, would we do that meeting at, what time on the 21st?
We had talked about doing it at 5.
Okay.
yes,
21st.
that's what I had written down as well.
What May?
Mhm.
Sometimes people say that's too early for it. They don't mean us, but the public.
Well, people that, don't get out till 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So then.
Mhm.
But there's gonna be a lot of material that we have to get through, so, I mean,
Yeah,
if we do get some public that shows up, I mean, that we need to give time to. To be able to hear everyone and,
I'm just thinking to build on what John's saying, we have a really good executive summary of what's changed.
Mhm.
And that same summary could apply to public,
The board,
to businesses, the board,
stakeholder,
yeah, everybody, right? Yeah. So you don't have to read like 300 pages, you can like maybe read a 3 or 4 page memo and be done with it.
And I would think Dave would kind of know off the top of his head when we're finished. What the big
Yeah.
headlines are.
Right here.
Yeah.
I mean, we all should, but I mean, I think.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
can
he's
ask
got
him to
He's,
draft.
and he's put that in other slideshow.
He's probably done this before, right?
So, Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Standard operating procedure.
yeah, similar to what he did in elementary school,
Yeah.
But-
Mhm.
updated. So then the December meeting on the 19th would be,
That would be the public hearing for the new ordinance. And that's a regular meeting at 6. or at 5?
Well,
I
do
guess
we,
that begs the question, we're going into a new calendar year, are we wanting to change the time of our meeting?
Oh.
Or no? But that's the second.
Well, I'm against
question.
changing it to 5 permanent.
Got it.
Some of us,
Yeah,
a
Laura.
lot of us were, but
Yeah. So do you want to do the public hearing just at your regular planning commission
Probably.
time, 6 o'clock?
For the public
Right.
anyway.
it may
Yeah.
make sense if, especially if, I think John had mentioned that some people feel 5 o'clock's too early. It'd be nice to have, people have the ability to finish up with work and then show up
Get her.
if they want to, yeah. And then is there anything that we need, so let's say we do need to extend them, or not we, but let's say the moratorium is extended, or, considered to be extended. Is there any kind of formal, request by the planning commission that the board, no, that's just an action the board would take, okay. So nothing to do on our part,
we just have to make sure it's on the agenda.
okay.
I mean, I guess I can take
Perfect.
responsibility. for
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, John.
Or a special meeting.
All right, I think we've got that hashed out, right? So, okay, so we're talking about November, November 21st at 5 p.m. And then we notice, and the public hearing will be on the 19th at 6 p.m. Okay,
There you go.
18th December.
Yes.
Yes.
I need to just print the email from Denise, if you don't mind, so I
Okay.
don't have it on my computer, I just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
you guys- Let me
Yep.
take it.
And David has my copy with all my notes in it. That were not returned to me. So I
Oh.
don't have any of my notes from my review. for tonight.
Oh.
Maybe the discussions will jog my memory.
Sorry. All right, so we can move on from old business then, moving on to, or I'm sorry, new business, and then moving on to old business, review of the draft zoning ordinance. Maybe, what's the set date time for open house, isn't it?
Pardon?
We already had the open house,
That
right?
was last
Am I-
Thursday, yeah.
Did I get the wrong? Okay.
Isn't this referring to what we just discussed? It says open house, but doesn't that mean the public meeting?
Oh.
I think it meant the open house for the
No,
office.
'cause that's
That
been
already
set for
happened.
quite some time.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe this was
And Mike
incorrect.
came. Thank you, Mike.
Pardon me?
You were there.
Yes, I was.
Hey Dave,
I got my
public
badge too.
input open house.
Public input open house?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's what we just discussed,
Yeah.
right? The
The
November-
21st.
November.
Fine.
okay. So so then we covered B. So set date and time for open house, which is December 19th at 6 p.m.
That's.
No,
Public
Well,
hearing.
Isn't it?
Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. The open house is November 21st at 5 p.m.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
That kind of confuse people. We already had an open house.
no.
Okay. Trust you.
All right.
That zoning ordinance really
Okay.
big and open house really.
All right, so then moving on to the review of the draft zoning ordinances, starting at section 8.1.
Yes, sir.
And you did receive, received an email from Denise, Lene, and
Yeah, I have just comments from her that I can share.
perfect.
Who is it from? I'm sorry.
Denise Webster, the planning
Okay,
yeah.
commissioner.
So,
All right.
all right,
So chapter 8, article 8 is special uses. Her first one was at section 8.30. It's the area for the accessory dwelling unit should be 600 square feet. She
Oh, wait.
thought that was what we had decided, that it was 600.
for single family. or-
Shall not exceed 600.
Correct,
And this says 750.
correct.
I don't know, anybody can live in that.
So we decided this long ago, it just
Okay.
had not been changed in here.
Okay.
Okay, so it is 600.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense, right? If we have any, I didn't have anything more on.
One question, bed and breakfast, that's on page 8-5. Why the word detached single family dwelling is in there and, I believe detached is in there because we can have attached single family. And the vision is that bed and breakfast would be a standalone house. And then she wasn't sure why C was needed lot conformance. A bed and breakfast shall be located on a lot that conforms to non-residential lot area requirements. I'm not sure, don't know, that might be something. I'm not sure why that's in there, but we can ask Dave and strike it if it's not needed.
Yeah, I don't think it's needed, especially if you have an established single family house that you're converting to a bed and breakfast. It probably won't comply.
Anything else on the next set of uses?
I'm just wondering, and as far as D on the guest rooms for bed and breakfast, is that pretty typical, setting the minimum size of? Or sorry, maximum number of bedrooms and is 6 makes sense as a number?
That's very normal. to
Is it?
do that, yeah.
Okay. Alright.
Home occupations,
Eight,
page 8-7. Don't know if there are any comments before that.
is that defined anywhere?
Yes.
I assume Dave's gonna add the drive-through spaces with the table and. So we have table XX and assume that's something that'll get added.
I did go through and mark up all those spots that he's got too.
I got a comment on the golf course thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Minimum of 40 acres. I just checked it out and, an 18-hole par 3 average, look it up, 30 acres. A 9-hole par 3, 15 acres. So I'm just thinking if somebody wanted to put in a short course, a little recreational course, that would preclude them from doing it.
Yeah, we can definitely modify that. Our current ordinance doesn't have any stipulation about size. So
Okay.
what was that minimum you suggested?
Well, the, what I looked up, on the Golf Course Association, whatever it was, they said the average 18-hole par 3, which is kind of a sporting course, is 30 acres. That's average. And then you know, say if somebody wants to put in a 9-hole par 3, just cut that in half. I'm just thinking it'd be kind of like a giant putt-putt, something like that. But I mean, it could be feasible.
No, there's a
Sure.
fun one in Holland, right on the highway there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more
Yeah.
There's one down the road
financially.
in Lake Town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, they're fun.
I'm just suggesting that maybe 30 for 18 and 15 for 9 might be a place to start if they want to dig into a little bit more, but
I think
40
that
seems
makes
kind of
sense.
intense.
You probably just put it in minimum, and then if they wanna do it,
Yeah, they do whatever they want
Yeah.
after that. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So we have, home occupations. Denise had a comment on the minor home occupation.
Mhm.
Why can't a non-resident be employed? I could see possible, like one non-resident employee. But stipulate that they park on the driveway and not be a hindrance to others in the neighborhood. So you'll see in B that the minor home occupation in item 1 says shall only be owned and operated by a full-time resident of the principal dwelling. Non-resident employees may not work on site. So I think it's a way to differentiate between the minor and the major, where a major home occupation would be allowed to have.
Okay,
Well, I'd comment on 1, I guess, and 2. Speak from my own experience and others that I've been clients of. If you run a tax return service.
Yeah.
In your home, you have a separate office space in your home, and you're the principal CPA type. And have an administrative person that lives in Holland, we have examples of that now in the township.
And so they come then to the house to work.
Yeah,
Okay,
like full time,
okay.
they don't live there, but I mean,
So that's sort of what Denise is
Yeah, I
saying. For
think
that situation, why not allow one?
One.
in the, number 5, no customers or clients shall visit the site.
well, that's silly too.
To use
I
John's
used to go to
example,
my accountant all the time.
yeah, so if,
In
so you've got a
Clear Brook
client who wants to stop by and have a discussion for half
Maybe
an
2
hour.
cars ahead of me, with people waiting to see
And
him.
it could be by appointment only or something.
Yeah.
So, seems kind of restrictive.
And I always, it's not the case now. So when I hate to see us do.
Tighten up, yeah.
To people like that.
So by appointment, I think would be a way to thread that needle, I think, because it could be
Okay.
someone teaching music lessons or to your
Exactly.
point accountant or a
I used to drop in
hairdresser.
and say, here's my paperwork. And it's like,
So on number 2, home occupations must be conducted entirely within the principal dwelling. And not
Yeah.
within an accessory building. So if you have a
Yeah.
beautiful garage facility with a loft
Yeah,
and you have your office there, I mean, that's a logical thing to do.
Well, then that would be a major home occupation.
What's the, why, because this goes to real estate?
Because
Because you're
there's
in a-
more impact on the neighborhood, because your neighbors are gonna, potentially,
Well, if the building is already there,
Right, but you're in an accessory building, which I think automatically moves you into the major home occupation.
why? What's the difference? It's the building. I mean, a
well,
major
what if
home,
it could be someone doing car repair or woodworking or, a more intensive operation than someone just coming to the home for a craft or, skill, like office type of work.
It might not be,
I'm
but
just
it could
saying,
be.
if- going back to the accountancy. So he's got a client and he has a beautiful 3-car garage with a carriage house over the top and he has his office up there. You can't do that and still have a by appointment only, minor thing. It seems kind of arbitrary.
I think they can if they follow the major home occupation guidelines.
I think the difference between the major and the minor is that the major has more comings and goings
That's right.
of the public.
Yeah, so that's got nothing, nothing to do with where you conduct business.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
and to your point, my accountant
I
had
agree
a
with
second
that.
accountant that worked in a different office on the premises.
Okay.
So he had 2 full-time.
It's
So
still,
sometimes what we do is we limit the amount of land, area in that building that can be used for the home occupation,
That's
just
big-
so it doesn't take over all the space and there's
Big
still
shop or
room
something.
for
Yeah.
garden equipment,
Yeah, yeah.
parking,
okay.
so. Let's look at that, because, for major, we say 50%, for minor, we could do something similar, 50% or
Or-
25 or.
Could be a prime residence or an accessory building like a loft or something like that, or a carriage house. You just use that as an example. Which I think is
I would think
pretty common around here.
I would think 25%, yeah. Because you're talking about, in that instance, you're just thinking of one office.
We have 50 in there.
For a major.
For major, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going in minor green, it says 50.
Oh, for the principal building, yeah,
Yeah, oh, you're talking about just for the ADU.
correct.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I would think that under major home occupation, number 4 would cover those issues. It says there shall be no physical evidence of that, well, major home occupation from other properties or the public right of way.
That's a key thing. Yeah,
So, I mean, I think if you repeat that on the
Correct.
minor,
got it.
it
Which
doesn't,
one was that?
Yeah.
number 4 under the major home occupation.
Page
So
88.
therefore, it wouldn't matter what building on the property, as long
Right.
as you don't see what's happening.
So are we saying with well, either of these that, no signage allowed?
No,
Because we have those now.
Hmm.
I can think of 2 dog groomers in the township that have flags in front of their house and say dog grooming.
They all do,
Interesting.
actually.
What?
All of the dog groomers do.
Yeah.
Signs.
I can think of 2 in the township, there might be more. It's,
yeah. We typically don't allow the signage.
That would be,
so are these
That would
places
seem to be
grandfathered in, I just hate to see us
Grandfathered.
do something
Yeah.
more. Maybe not in every case, but in some cases, so restrictive when there are already people doing business that way.
but that's, there's people doing all kinds of things that are to be contrary to these ordinances.
Right,
The ordinances
and
now.
some of them-
Yeah,
Are good.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I just bring it
All
up.
right.
yeah.
Maybe that's covered under the signage section as opposed to talking about it here.
Oh, and then, on major home occupation. Shall only be owned, operated by a full-time resident. So what if that person's got a partner?
But what if that person spends the winter in Florida?
So again, using the accountancy.
Most of them go away. in the
If they
winter.
have a partnership, 2 or 3 guys or gals have a accountancy and they have different offices and. It's owned by more than one person, but it's only operated by one person at that dwelling.
I think the goal here is that it wouldn't be a business that's with a renter. That it's the homeowner's business.
Well, you could say the dwelling is owned by a person, but the business might be a partnership.
Yes, business could be a partner.
So then in minor home B, are we gonna strike number 5?
Number 5, we're gonna keep and put a comment that says except by appointment.
It's cleaner to strike it, but.
All right. I only had one minor thing under.
Page.
You know what, maybe. Maybe it's right the way it's written. I was just questioning the wording under B, horses and livestock zoning districts. Page 8-9, right at the top, keeping horses or livestock is permitted.
Oh.
Or
Yeah.
livestock.
Keeping horses. As
Horses are
livestock,
livestock.
livestock is permitted. Yeah,
No,
as,
or-
Because the heading
It's
is
or.
horses and.
keeping horses or livestock is permitted. Okay.
Do we need?
I knew it didn't sound right.
I'll check to see if it's defined.
Okay, yeah, and maybe it is, you're right.
Jackie, did you
Mhm.
say that you've marked these things, some of these up, like this or?
All
or
of it, yeah, and he's got my
He
copy.
has it.
Yeah. He forgot to, didn't get it back to me, so. Got an extra copy tonight,
Okay, okay.
no notes.
Okay. Anything on page 8? 9?
And then
Yes,
all of the violation and penalties have been struck from marijuana under 8.170.
those violations and penalties they're moved into the violation section of the ordinance instead of repeated here.
Perfect.
Has, Township, have we received any complaints about odor around the marijuana businesses at all?
I don't think from legal ones, have we? Just
Oh.
illegal,
What would cause an odor?
Just the illegal ones?
illegal, yeah, the one in the bars.
Okay, so the ones that, yeah,
Are legal.
The marijuana.
Because they have less than
Burning?
12 plants per person.
Just the presence of.
None of our
Oh, it
licenses.
doesn't?
Oh,
Okay, I didn't know that.
I've just heard comments from people coming off the expressway going by the legal ones and said, whoa, I can really smell it. But if no one's complained,
That's probably because they were using
no, not people I know.
it.
I mean, I know plenty of people that do, but not, yeah. And maybe it has to do with where we've located them as well, which,
Yeah, away
You know.
from residential.
right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's.
Good.
I just wondered if. And, if we needed to maybe add a little caveat in there regarding the odor control if. Complaints but. If someone's complaining and.
no, we've had people come to the board meeting, but it was about bars out in agricultural areas,
Okay,
growing a lot of pot in their bar.
yeah.
Without a license.
All right, anything else on the next pages? 8:14.
Is gross or area defined anymore?
it is.
Okay, good.
15, 16.
Mhm.
Mixed use residential, that's 8.190.
Yes.
That says 750 square
I
feet.
like that.
Should that be 600 square feet?
On page, what
So
section are you in?
let's section 8.1.
Page 814. 8.190.
Mixed use residential.
We set it up in mixed.
And that was something we were permitting in the commercial districts.
Yeah, it looks like we changed it all to 6.
We did, Denise says she supports 750, but I know that there was consensus with, for the 6,
Because we just changed another one that just said,
yeah.
go with 6.
So the ones, the auxiliary dwelling unit is a maximum of 6, correct?
Right.
And this
then
is a
this the
minimum.
Exactly, that's why we did that.
The way you gotta dwell on. Seems inconsistent to me.
Okay.
Why do we have 2 different standards for dwelling? Per square
They're
footage?
2 different. What do you mean? We have the 600.
600 is one is a minimum.
Yeah, because accessory dwelling unit is something that is separate from your single family.
Mhm.
It's another unit. And so it
Wasn't
can't,
the auxiliary, excuse me, dwelling unit a maximum of 600?
yes. Maximum.
Why do we do that?
Because we don't want it to become a second house. It's accessory, it's a.
To the principal building.
But if you're gonna dwell in it, it'd be beating a dead horse here, but if you're gonna have a dwelling unit, it ought to be livable. And an average 2-bedroom apartment is 750 square feet.
This would be, could be a 1-bedroom. Or a studio,
Studio, yeah.
or a unit above a garage, carriage house.
On page 817, we're talking about self-storage and a caretaker's dwelling. Some guy or gal is gonna be running the place, has an opportunity to live there. But they can't have more than 1 bedroom. So if the guy or gal has kids, they can't live there.
So it's, so the fact that it says 1 bedroom, it could just be a dwelling unit.
Well, who cares how many bedrooms it is?
Yeah, that's, yeah, so the point would be to remove the stipulation that it be 1 bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, same section, but letter F, ownership. But not being divided or converted to condominium ownership. So that's a change from our current policy, yes?
Correct,
We have at least 2 instances of that now.
yeah,
But this would this allow them to expand?
it would allow them to continue what's already been approved, yes. If we continue what's already approved.
So LG or Boscraft could do more condominium sites. But no one else could.
Boscraft has been approved for his phases, anything new, no.
Okay, so an additional
The
set, okay.
LV is approved for his overall, when he comes in for building permits to do what's already been approved, yes, but nothing new
Okay,
that wasn't contemplated on the approved.
okay.
Um,
All right, page 8.
818, 819. Then Denise had a comment on the specialty accommodations.
Can you define that?
What
section?
Section 8.280.
It's in the back
Do
here.
you want to move closer?
Section 22-21.
You say
I
page
think-
number, refer to the section so that, you don't have to search the whole page, you can go right to the section number, that'd be helpful, thank you.
Section 820.
On page,
Page 820.
Specialty accommodations are defined, yes.
Thank you.
In the back.
8.280, okay.
I got a question about C, number 2. The manager or caretaker must be on duty at all times. That means, is he on site or is it immediately available? Like he's down the street?
That's a really good question. Is there a preference? Because we
I
should
think having
stipulate.
somebody on site
On-site.
24 hours a day is kind of,
I mean, no one does.
nobody does that. But if you can call them up and they can come down, if they're in the area. Seems kind of unreasonable.
So it's okay as is.
On duty
So
at all times to address.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't say on site.
It doesn't.
says on duty.
Yeah, it says on
Exactly.
duty.
Which is
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's okay.
That
Yeah.
means on call.
So is that
Yep.
loose enough to kind of, okay, all right,
I think so.
okay.
So I think for this one though, a question that I had is how do you determine how many of these can be on a property?
It's a good question.
Yeah. And do they need to have, like well and septic? Or can they be on well and septic, individual little cabins? Or do we want them where we have public water and sewer? Since there could be, clustered and
This,
separate little cabins?
this is what auto camp.
This is
Probably
what
what's
other
that
camp
falling
would-
under,
yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
we had them on public water and sewer.
Mhm. And they decreased the density too.
I don't think we
But-
limited or addressed the number of sites.
They did decrease it, but I'm not sure if
We
that was
never had a
self
way to determine.
propelled.
Right.
I think we used the campground regulations of the state,
Mhm.
which were something like 650 square feet per site. And then the yurt or the Airstream could go on that site. And so they did a density calculation with their total lot area.
They had
Um,
a minimum distance between the two sites, and I
Yes.
think there's something with the campfire as well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. So would we
created-
wanna have some stuff in here about that?
Do we know what the density is at Saugatuck RV Park?
I don't know, man.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just reference the campground standards that the state has established. Cindy's nodding.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would
So we do.
agree with that.
And then Denise said, why don't we have them in A2? Let's see, we don't have municipal
Public lot,
services
yeah.
in A2,
Right.
nor do we have the trail system. I mean, there were things that. All right. Anything else in this section? After 8?
Is everybody good with the mobile food units? I know that there was some talk about that. I didn't see anything, but.
Denise said she supported.
Okay.
What page
Yeah.
are we on?
8-21. Page 8-21, section 8.3D is in David. But sounds like everyone's okay with.
Mhm.
On page 822. I don't know anything about truck driving, what their habits are, but on M. Idling or revving. Unless required to maintain the temperature or pressure of perishable or volatile cargo, extended running time, excess of 5 minutes. Prohibited. Don't guys run their diesels to keep their cabins warm when they're sleeping? I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be worth checking out. I mean, it's like 0 degrees out. I think you're gonna keep their trucks running while they're sleeping.
I don't know.
0 degrees out there, gonna run it whether there's an ordinance or not.
Right.
I mean, who cares?
It is true that they run them to, to keep the refrigeration units
They
going.
do.
I know that
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. I've had vehicles at my shop where the guy's like, you gotta leave it running because they had frozen product in the back. So
Right.
I know that part is true, but as far as, the cabs,
If you're gonna sleep and have heat.
Yeah,
you
I don't
gotta have that engine run.
Well, but
Why do we care?
Is it a truck stop just to let them fuel up? And then keep going and then not set up to,
Then it's not a truck stop. I think the expectation, I don't know from Adam, expectation, I'm a truck driver, I'm pulling a truck stop, I can park and take a break, have dinner,
I
take a
don't know.
nap.
Need some,
But I know like they have their trucks stay at the state site, which is just before that exit.
Yeah, there's
I
a,
suggest you leave it because
Yeah,
the idea is that you're trying to control the amount of people running their vehicles all night long, and then maybe potentially being close to a residential a residential piece or, where to where you're going
Truck
to,
stop's not gonna be near a residential area.
well, we don't have a truck stop. I mean, there's a truck, the only place a truck stop can go is kind of over where the Shell station is.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility that there could be apartments in that back part there too, to the south, so,
I think it's unrealistic.
so I don't think you can predict.
There's a
but-
huge shortage of areas for truckers to sleep and nap. It was on public.
I don't mind restricting it
problem.
for purely environmental reasons.
No.
That's the
That
other,
ain't gonna-
I know.
But
Should we
you know
take a
what?
vote?
When the first truck driver plan comes, truck stop plan comes in, we'll face it that.
It's also a
That's what I
special use, right?
Yeah.
So we can learn more about it from
Right.
them when they come in and require it.
So then in the same section of letter C, just, is that the minimum lot frontage, it was 1,000, what we suggested to discourage such things?
That is what we talked about
Yeah,
in our,
That is
no, I
what
guess
we
that
talked
is,
about.
okay, I thought it was. I just-
Yeah.
And then in the F buffer. Section 11. There's a space missing before. I get section 11(1).
right.
Or maybe, is the word wide needed there? The buffer required by section 11 shall be at least 100 feet wide.
Oh,
I think the wide is,
the erroneous.
I'd wonder what section 11 is. Yeah. Yeah, probably don't need wide. Okay.
Anything else in this section, page 823? We've got a lot of pages on wind turbines. Not much has changed there.
Oh, I'm just curious, with all the wind turbine, technology, do we acknowledge that there's gonna be storage batteries in these locations?
I haven't. We can check that.
I'm just thinking, if you've got a couple of wind turbines, you're gonna have storage batteries to, store the energy. It's cloudy and stuff, and you've got that technology on site. And I don't know if that's an issue or not, maybe it's not. But, it'll be part of the deal.
Okay.
I apologize for this, but to go back to 8-23, section 8.32 vehicle repair. So there was a question that was kind of thrown back to me as far as the amount of days. And I mean, I guess, he highlighted the one business day, which I feel like is a little unfair if you're, and I'm having a hard time understanding what, it looks like, but sometimes you have to wait for parts and things like that and if a car comes in on a wrecker and you can't move it, then there has to be the ability to be able to order the materials, get them in. I mean, I would feel like a minimum of 3 days. And then I also was thinking about the idea behind, because we talk about vehicles for major and we talked about minor and major, and I know that changed a little bit, but I feel like the intent behind major mechanical repair would be for trucks and machines and and equipment, as opposed to, I feel like minor vehicle repair is like the cars we all drive. And I don't know if we need to specify that anymore the way this is written, but to me, minor vehicle repair is, it's somebody somebody's everyday driver, they come in and they need brake work, or they need, you know, even if you pull a motor on a normal car, that's, I mean, major work is you have a semi truck in there and, you know, that's big diesel, you know, pieces of equipment that, to me, that's major. And I don't know if that was the intent, and Dave's not here and he probably have experience with this in other communities, but to me, that would be the definition between major and minor.
Well, we just have in our use list
Yeah,
now,
okay, yeah.
just straight up vehicle repair, not major or minor.
And like I said, I know it did change, but
Major,
Dave, what would you think if we went 3 business days not to exceed 3 vehicles?
yeah, I mean, I would hope there wouldn't be more than 3. Yeah,
Well,
I think that's-
or 2, or, I mean, I'm just,
I mean, the reality is the only time in my mind that you're going to have this situation that you have to deal with this is if somebody had something happen on the highway and a wheel fell off and they had to have it record in, and then they, you know, they put it on your property and you weren't expecting it, it wasn't in the schedule, it wasn't, you know, and then it's there. But you got to deal with it. So I just feel like there needs to be a certain expectation that allows you to be able to deal with that. And I agree with setting a maximum number. I think that's fair.
so like 3 days, 2 vehicles. You're not gonna have more than 2 come in at a time. Or do you think 3?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say I'd take 3,
Yeah,
but
So are we defining major work or a
We went
major
back.
vehicle meaning a
Thanks.
semi?
Thank you.
Because you can replace transmissions, right?
well, yes, I
I
mean,
would- to me, that's major work.
Yeah,
it's
but
on a
that's
minor
not the type
vehicle,
of stuff you
right?
normally do outside. If you gotta do a transmission, you're gonna put the car up.
Correct.
And I don't.
that's all inside.
Yeah. What he's talking
Uh,
about is like if somebody blows a tire and then they bend a wheel
Right.
and you're waiting for GM or Ford or whoever to come up with the wheel, and that takes a day or 2 to, you know, or 3 days to get that.
And there's always issues with, you know, obtaining, you know, the right parts. So I just feel like there needs to be an allowance to be able to deal with the issue that you were dealt with.
it's fair.
3 and
so
3,
I put in here 3 business days.
I think,
and up to 3 vehicles. So that way is the cap, so he's not gonna have 20 cars laying around there.
and that's really what we're trying to control, right? Is you don't want,
Like looking like a junkyard. or
right,
Well, here's another thing that comes in tape I've read about, is that a lot of these repair shops, they'll get cars in, they'll do the repair, then the owner can't pay for it. And so then the shop holds it on their property till they get it checked.
No, but he's not working on it at that point.
and usually that car is finished.
Ah, I see what you're saying. So
Yes.
it's ready to roll.
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Literally.
just don't get the keys.
Right.
There you
All
go.
right.
There is collateral. All right, anything else in
So,
chapter 8?
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
That's important.
Conversation.
We don't want our mechanics unhappy with us.
Well, it points out we need to clarify the major and minor too, a little bit. I think that it's referenced in that section and the one after it, so I put notes in
mean,
there.
You know, we used to have a major mechanical repair facility on 63rd Street. And actually, it's where you know, they used to do a lot of tractors and things. It's DNL, and now they've moved to on Blue Star Highway. It's in Holland now, but north on Blue Star before the airport, but it used to be here. And you could see that on 63rd Street for sure. I mean, I could see another facility coming in there, and because it's set up for that. So that, in my mind, I guess that's what I would ask Dave. If that's kind of what we were thinking is, you know, major vehicle repair to me is trucks, off-road trucks, you know, over the road semis, minor
School
is
buses.
school buses, yeah.
All right. Anything else in this section?
No.
All right. Let's move on to chapter 9. So this is the lighting chapter.
All right. So 9-1.
Yeah. Denise had a comment in section 9.30. If we were going down to something lower than the 2,700 kelvins. Section 9.30, page 9-2,
And within that section, what?
A,
9-2.
What?
930A.
Page 9-2. Section 9.3.
I thought we were at 2,700, but, let me look at some diagrams.
That's to light color.
Light color, yeah, the 2,700 is kind of more of a warm incandescent,
Yep.
which is a typical number. Lower than that,
It's pretty bad.
pretty low.
Well, it started to get, yeah.
No, blue is higher,
Oh, is it?
yeah.
Yeah,
And what? It goes lower than that.
Lower is kind of more yellow.
Okay, okay.
Warmer.
It's like a bug light.
it's more.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, sorry.
So I thought we were at 2,700.
That's what I recall.
It's a warm white. Candlelight is 22. So I
22?
think 27 was where we landed.
Yeah. And then on page 9.3,
Yes,
under non-compliant light fixtures. They show unshielded bollards with reflectors. We have just installed bollards here in our parking and in front of the building. I don't know if they have reflectors per se.
I brought that up at
I
staff.
think they're ordered.
Yeah, as they are now, they're in violation.
So, yeah, I talked to Daniel about
Yeah.
this too. I don't know if it means bollards with reflectors, and I don't know that ours do have reflectors.
So the question is is there a bollard that is compliant?
Correct, because this does say with reflectors, and I have no idea if ours have reflectors or not.
They're still.
I think they're ordered.
So in other words, it's not a problem for the township, we're going to comply with our own
Yeah,
order.
we need to
Yeah.
set the example.
Yeah, so it would
That's a good
seem
idea.
that if we had a shielded bollard.
And those are shielded on top, so they go,
Yeah, 'cause
360,
usually
but
the
they don't
light
shine
goes
up.
down. Yeah, so as long as it still goes down.
Goes down.
but these are shown with top caps too,
All right, so we'll clarify that.
what we have, I guess.
Do we have them?
They're installed.
In for a month.
Okay.
You only see them at night. You'll see them in
Let's
the.
see what I do.
No, they look
Take a
very
picture
nice,
of
but I asked the same question.
Yeah.
On section 9.2, applicability, put, all properties, so that include, housing developments,
Yeah,
streetlights?
yeah.
I thought so, okay.
Yeah, if you look at page 9.4, and they say the ones that are compliant,
Oh, fully shielded, yes.
mhm.
Can I interrupt? I don't know that I have the same copy. Every time
Oh.
you guys referring to sections, I can't find it.
If you have the
You said
first one
nine-
that's
you
issued
first-
still,
What was the last one you just said? I hate to interrupt you, but.
no, it's okay, page 9.3 and 9.4.
Yeah.
You have an older,
What section, just so I can pin it down.
well, it's
Section or article.
It's
nine.
illustrations
It's the
of
page
light
with the
fixtures.
pictures of lights.
So you have an older
I was
version.
reading it.
I keep saying
But that,
I don't know. I'm
He's
just
got
saying,
the
I might have a
original
different
copy.
version.
You probably have the original one.
I'm asking you for those section numbers, I'm just not finding it.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
you
in
might
that
have-
language around here.
it has been updated once and we handed out.
Yeah, but
hasn't it?
this was.
But that's the one,
Morgan gave you the copy.
yeah, I thought so.
Maybe you grabbed the wrong one.
There.
I could see that being frustrating.
But I've written in some
Yeah,
of
this
this one.
must not have been, did she copy, did you copy it in color, Morgan? Is this the one?
I printed all of mine at the same time.
So you're not going crazy, that helps.
Well, yeah, I was asking to do section numbers because I couldn't find what you were saying on those pages.
Oh,
What's the date on your cover, Joe?
Doesn't have a cover.
Yeah, it's gonna be that.
Maybe you have another copy at home. Didn't you come in and get a copy before the second one?
Maybe. Oh, just possible, I don't have it here. That explains a lot, okay. Fine, thank you, I'll check at home. I know Morgan gave me that,
I know, yeah.
I'll double check,
Do you-
but I'll follow your discussion anyway. That's fine.
I might have an extra one at my desk. Do you want me to get it? So you can look at
Well,
it?
just so I can follow you, I won't write in it, if you don't mind, I mean,
I think it's right on my desk.
that'd be great.
Yeah, keep that.
We've only got one person from the public here, we gotta take care of it.
Right.
We
Exactly.
we need, is it?
Maybe it was a good.
All right, so we want to make sure that the bollards we have outside conform.
Yes,
Yes.
which we think is being addressed, but we just need to.
Before we adopt this, maybe we should have the lights in by then.
Right, you know, okay. Well,
Yeah.
we got a little time.
All right,
We ordered.
Okay.
oh, okay, so the cap will,
a big cap?
I don't know, I think it's the smallish, yeah, but it.
They have caps on them now.
Here's some pictures.
Well, I'm not worried about pictures, that's fine.
I just remember something about pictures, that's why I'm on the page.
Pictures.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
all right,
Early night.
we're on page 9.5.
9-5.
All right. Chapter 10,
Yeah, I don't know.
You skipped my heart.
On 10.3. E,
Page 10-3.
yeah, 10.3, E, number 3. We talk about trucks, trailers, equipment, so forth. We don't mention boats and RVs. I think especially in this area, boats and RVs are, there's a lot of,
all right.
and the owners could use that as a parking lot for their recreational vehicles.
You wanna say boats, RVs and watercraft, because the jet skis may say that.
Right, exactly. Good,
We're
good idea.
that's not a boat,
Exactly.
but you are a
Yep.
watercraft.
Let's see, Denise had a comment in section H. 1B.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, page 10.5. And she was concerned about wheel stops, especially for the interior of a site. We are having a challenge with that. We do have a place in the township with gravel parking. And there's no way to, there's no striping,
Mhm.
and so they did have some delineators that were railroad ties. That worked, but if they're removed, people park all over, and so it's not as
Mhm.
efficient.
Yeah.
So I understand the concern, but we do need to have something.
Does she,
What would you add to wheel stops?
I would just keep it.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I just want to bring it up.
Mhm.
Because there are various ways to handle this stuff.
Yes, I know it doesn't have to be a concrete little stop. It could be, yeah, it could be even a little flag or something. I mean, people could get creative, but somehow folks need to know where the,
Delineation.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not saying that they would ignore that
Right.
as well, but.
In section, on page 10.5 E, number 1, I think you got a typo, I think it's supposed to be porous surfaces.
Pervious.
Oh, that's pervious.
Is that right?
It's
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
I never heard the word. Where's that?
Yeah.
That's previous.
It's
That just
somewhat
means that
synonymous
water
with
goes through.
horse.
Or-
Okay,
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's it.
wow,
Doesn't mean you're a perv.
I know, I hope not.
That's my job to come up with those observation.
Pervious.
I will say back to the wheels, the curb stops, the only concern that I would see with them, and I like the idea, I will say, but a matter of full disclosure, it's tough to plow
Yes.
Oh,
with
yeah.
them.
it is.
So I don't know if that's something we need to think about or not, or if that's just maybe on the property owner. I mean, it can be done.
They could be flagged
Maybe they just gotta deal
for
with
the,
it.
just like they flag streets.
Yeah.
and,
So, or he could pave it and it'd be much easier to plow and to strike.
And how do they, yeah, plowing gravel's hard too, right?
Really
Just in
hard.
general.
Yeah,
For-
Yeah.
you can put a pipe on the bottom of your plow, and it's actually not too bad, but.
Oh.
Gravel.
But I do like the idea of curb stops because I think it gives people some flexibility to move, to adjust
Mhm.
but
I mean, if they were to make a, say an island, right, and have the island at least curve around an island, and that curbing could count. you know,
Right.
For that. And still be gravel.
A lot owner could flag the curb stops in the winter, just like people do on the driveway.
Mhm.
Put a stake
Yeah.
in.
right, there's ways around
Ways
it.
around it.
I just want to make sure
Yep.
everybody thought about it, that's all.
So the parking calculation. We're asking for a lot of parking, just so you all know, but
It is
I
a
know you discussed this before, I wasn't here that day. But we do have a driving community.
So did we not lower the minimums for dwellings?
It-
Is this
Oh.
changed? You said things got bigger.
I'm just saying, say retail, we require one space. For each employee plus one for every 100 feet of floor area. I mean, that's really high. Typically, high is 250. But we're 1 per 100, that's
All right,
very
so how do
high.
we get past our cannabis?
Well, then I think we have a separate use here, like separate line for cannabis, right? We don't have to have all retail.
Well, if I remember correctly, why this became such like we discussed it so thoroughly, and I think we ended up changing it back. And correct me if I'm wrong with my memory, but we were discussing existing uses and and approved uses that have come through. And the approved uses, we had talked about that really weren't having any issues. Say, and if we're just talking cannabis, I'm talking like new standard versus jars.
Mhm.
And jars, all kinds of problems. But that was an existing use that we adapted. And so I feel like all of a sudden it kind of steered back towards increasing the amount of parking because of jars. And that maybe we talked about some other ones that weren't in the township as well. I don't remember,
But
but
the other one we have the problem with is Penny Royal because.
that was the other one.
That's
That was
Yeah,
the other one, because
Yeah.
of the shared parking, which doesn't work.
right. But I feel like the ones that came through that we approved and, that I don't feel like we've been having issues with those. It's just the ones that have adapted to their space and, and been successful, which is
Change of use.
good,
Yeah.
but
So Lene, what would you recommend? Because we don't want to be ridiculous with our parking requirements,
No.
but we've also been burned a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, you've got the reduced and shared and deferred.
yeah,
And that would be the place to use it when you're getting too much parking. Use the.
So in other words,
reduced or
they can always
deferred.
appeal to the board and we can reduce it depending on, and then restrict it to that type of business. So if they sell to somebody else,
Or deferred.
yeah.
you're right.
I
That's
know
the next
that's
section.
true.
True.
Yeah, we do have a more, user-friendly process for reducing and deferred, and you're gonna see the site plan anyway. So when I talk to applicants and they're saying, "Oh, man, that's a lot of, parking," we'll say, well, show us how you've operated in other places. I mean, it doesn't have to be an elaborate parking study, but.
Okay.
One thing I
That
think
sounds
we ought to
good.
consider adding this whole parking thing is using Penny Royal as an example. You don't have enough parking. Parking on the shoulders of public thoroughfares is not only prohibited by the county, the state, but also by the township. So somebody doesn't think, well, if I get too many customers, I don't have enough parking, I'll just park out side of the street someplace. No,
Which is what they do.
which is what they do, which is illegal.
Well,
And if the sheriff started enforcing that,
They don't.
but they don't for some reason.
well, we could request them.
I talked to one of the sheriffs about it. Mentioned it to him.
Does it bother them?
Pardon me?
Are they bothered by it? I mean, they must.
They don't
be.
seem to be.
But we did order signs that, we're gonna be putting up along Blue Star.
Really?
In the spring,
Good.
yeah, for
Awesome.
jars and for Penny Royal.
Cool.
okay.
Awesome.
And we're not just gonna put them in front of those
Oh, yeah.
businesses, but
Right.
elsewhere, because if we put them there, then people think, oh, where they're not,
They're
we can
targeting
park.
that.
Then we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
park over here.
Right,
Are we getting a lot of signs?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So I had a question on dwellings, because I know we talked a lot about. If we ever were to get multi-unit dwellings, whether it be apartments or condos, that we were trying to lower the minimum.
Yeah, I
So
don't
that it
see
would
that
only be
there.
maybe one per unit, because we're trying to encourage. Not using automobiles.
Yeah, but that's,
Doesn't that ring a bell?
that's not
I think
realistic.
It was in rural
you
character.
can't do that. You can't tell
Um,
somebody who's got live in an apartment that they can only have one car.
Well, it's a minimum.
Yeah, it is a minimum.
It's a
Okay,
minimum.
It's a
Sorry.
minimum.
Okay.
It could be one.
That is a common thing
I see, I'm
that,
sorry.
ordinances that have multifamily do have
Right.
reduced, parking
Right.
ratios for multifamily dwellings. I don't see that here,
Right.
but I think we should.
It
Consider
Definitely, I thought that made it into the flow charts from rural character.
Well, I'll add the note here to include it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be okay with one. But minimum.
Right. Anything else on that one?
We. Feel like we addressed this, but there was, because part of the. Discussion about Penny Royal. Was one of the reasons I think they're having issues with. Overflow parking. Is they're using open space areas, for seating.
Right.
That weren't accounted in their original numbers.
Right.
Which added patrons and added vehicles, and is that something that we would maybe address with this chart, or do we?
Well, it says taverns and bars, including outdoor service
Oh,
areas.
okay,
And just to let you know, we did a thorough analysis and counted all of their outdoor seating.
Oh,
seating
okay.
And interior areas and compared it to our requirements, and they do comply.
okay,
Just so everybody knows, I can send you that
Yeah.
report too.
well, no, that's not necessary, I just,
Okay.
I think maybe that was part of our discussions, we thought maybe it got added.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
the fact, but
We gotta
if that
make
wasn't the
sure.
case, then yeah,
And adding an outdoor area, all of that would come in for either administrative site plan review or come back to the planning commission. So there would be that check and balance to make sure that parking was met.
all right, so let's go.
Section 11. So this is landscaping and the environment.
And I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Got a good friend of mine who's on the planning commission at Park Township.
Okay.
They're trying to get a tougher, more comprehensive tree regulations. And do we ever share our stuff with other communities to help them?
Well, we'd be happy to share. We actually use their
Park
stuff.
Township's
We
tree.
use Park for ours.
For the trees?
Yeah.
Really?
That was recommended.
That's curious.
They have a pretty strong one.
He-
Yeah, we-
That's not the impression I got from this guy.
Is he
So,
new to the commission?
yes,
Oh,
that could be. Yeah,
Probably doesn't know.
probably could be.
Yeah, because it
Our
was.
township tree
recently
ordinance, that
adopted.
was
I
one of
tell
our
him that.
guiding-
One of our models, but we should definitely share it. I'm gonna grab a water
All right, cool.
I think it's pretty thorough.
I do
Oh,
too.
yeah, no, I mean, I think it was John Vanderbeek brought it to my
Yeah,
attention
wow.
2-3 years ago.
Now, Gordon brought up the trees, like the invasive or the. Remember, there were two different trees that had the same name, but they were
Oh,
slightly
well,
different
I
and
think ginkgo was one.
maybe,
That's
maybe it
one of
was, I
It
don't
was
remember.
invasive here and then over there.
It was
mature.
desired, yeah.
Right,
Whether or not it was a female ginkgo or.
Okay.
a male ginkgo.
but
Oh,
it,
yeah.
but that was covered, wasn't it, as far, yeah, okay.
Better come to my house and let me know.
That's funny because I
That
love
board
locust.
Specifically says female.
For ginkgo?
Yep. I think we should specify.
Oh, yeah, it
that,
does.
And also locust. Aren't there some locusts that are, all of Chicago's street trees are locust?
Locust Street. I don't either.
Which trees have that minimum kill?
But the ginkgo for sure, yeah, female.
No, holly bush.
Yeah, there's no locus at all listed under desirable.
Yeah.
Well, honey locust is on there. That's the only one.
As desirable.
Yeah.
But it's also in the problematic.
Is it? Yep, it is. Oh, it says with thorns. I guess that's the difference. Some have and some do not have thorns.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the difference.
No idea.
Okay.
Okay. Landscaping is good then with everyone?
I think so.
Yeah.
I had just one question when we get to 11.110 on page 1119 and 1120.
Okay,
When we get there. Or whenever you want, yeah.
I think we're to that point.
Okay, so the only thing I'm concerned about is that when you dig on. And grade around it, we're still, waiting for the final, is top grade done? Or-
Top grade is basically done,
It
yeah.
actually looks pretty good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my only concern is if they come back and start, selling lots there for homes, depending on where that house is located, is there enough of a setback from where that water's edge is, where the foundations are?
Right.
Because I've seen developments, it turned into a huge cluster where they built too close to the lake. And the homes around the lake, their foundations were failing because when you have a hole,
Right.
you know, the ground wants to move to fill the hole.
Right.
And it was taking the basements along with it. So I don't know if these numbers are enough of a slope or the distance. But I would just have that discussion before we approve this, because you know that the developer would just love to sit back and subdivide that and say, here's our 100-foot waterfront lots.
Sorry, you're talking about page 1120,
Yep.
number 7, C7?
Yep, the 5-to-1, 3-to-1, and then make sure that our other ordinances on where a house can be, like on the river or the
Yeah.
lake, it has to be a certain number of feet back.
So I just looked at that, those setbacks for the water. We added other water bodies and they're 40 feet.
It's not very far.
Yeah, that's,
It may not be very far, it may not be far enough. I mean,
yeah, because if you have a man-made body.
But this, but C7, that's talking about the slopes of the pond.
yeah.
So that's and really that has more to do with maintaining them.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying,
Uh,
but the steeper the slope, the more the tendency it's gonna wanna let go.
Well, I mean, that's a structural engineering question, but I mean, that, you know, that's all about the stability of the bank, but I think as far as C7 goes, that just has to do, that's more for maintenance.
Okay, so.
Cause you don't want to exceed,
so we
and
should
3-to-1 is steep, but I mean, that, I've seen it, I think that might be a state level is 3-to-1, but
So I guess I'd like to have a discussion, or at least should we say they have to be 100 feet back, which isn't a whole lot, but 40 feet, I think you're in a
but you're,
danger
but you're
zone.
100 feet back from what?
Like from the edge of the water, from the edge.
From like the normal water line, you're saying?
Any water body, you're saying,
Yeah,
other water.
or the
body.
slope. I mean, so if you've
On
got
the top of the slope.
from the top, yeah, so if you've got.
But that's gonna be different, because you could have. I mean, the top of the, yeah, you'll have to figure out how you're gonna define that, because top of the slope. I mean, you're gonna have a normal water level, you'll have a high water level, and then you could have a hot top of the slope.
But
which
it's,
also be
it's the
very
slope
different.
where it becomes unsteady,
That's the problem, not the water, right?
right?
This is why I can't wait to get a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Draw.
Yes.
So anyways, I don't have to have an answer tonight, but I would like to, I think it would have to be more than 40 feet back, because I mean, it turned into a special use district that affected a whole subdivision. So 300 people, and they all love to come to the meetings and say how happy they are about the whole project.
Well, I think that brings up, you know, our setback, that goes back to our dwelling standards on page 3-5. And our setbacks from water bodies.
Does that include man-made water bodies?
It says other water bodies, so would that be man-made? Hopefully, yes. And if so, we only have 40 feet.
Well, see, I'm not too worried about, if you build too close to Lake Michigan, you're an idiot and I can't save you.
Well, those are 75 feet.
All right, so if you build on the river, that's fairly static.
That's 75 too.
So
we're making
I
75.
think it should at least be as much as we require for Lake Michigan and the river.
Mhm.
For
Okay,
what, for any water body?
So you're telling me if you have
Stream?
if you have a 3 feet deep water body, you gotta be 75 feet away from
Oh,
it?
that's true.
That seems excessive.
I mean, that's,
Well,
yeah, that's, I mean, maybe it has, maybe it reflects with the depth of your basement foundation. Because that's really that's really gonna be your structural criteria
Well,
there.
the other reason I bring this up is I think these people had walkout basements. And the whole walkout basements were like taken off towards the, they had like 2-inch cracks in their basement walls. Because they were too close to they built a pond in sand. And over time, the sand started shifting and taking the houses with it. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but since we're letting them build a man-made water body, I think some sort of attention should be brought to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd be tough to just say, to me, to say 75 feet from top of the slope, if you just have a small little man-made water body, then
Or a creek.
Or a
it
creek.
doesn't seem
Or a
like it
creek.
apply.
Well, a creek would not be a man-made water body.
Would it be a water body?
But it's other body, it's
Yeah,
other
other body.
I mean, we have 50 feet from street right of ways. Some of our rear yards are 50 in the ag, they go down to 30 in the residential districts. You know, 40 is sort of the average we have for just general setbacks, but I don't,
What's section 4 saying?
I mean,
What's the
the
harm in
only,
making it
the only way that I could see getting around it, in my opinion, would be, if, you had to have some kind of, soil engineering reports, for, the foundation for the pads. Like you had to have a structural, like if you were near a pond and you had a structural engineer or a soil engineer come out and say, that this is acceptable to, to build a foundation on. I mean,
So
I
maybe.
feel
we
like
should-
that's the safest,
it's,
Oh,
and maybe that's done at staff
section,
level.
look at section 4 says that there's a 50-foot setback from the edge of excavation to the nearest point of any dwelling. That's already in here.
All right, so
Did
you're
you
at
say
least at
50?
50 feet.
At least 50.
Or just add man-made water bodies setback of 75 or whatever.
Say maybe 60 feet. 60 feet unless, and then with an appeal to the planning commission. So if they come in and they have that kind of report that you have, that a structural engineer said, I can build within 50 feet and it's sound and he puts his seal on it.
I'm thinking of a man-made water body and you're talking about like you're building a neighborhood. If you're digging if you're digging that pond, you're either building on virgin land, which that's not going anywhere, or you're putting material in place and you're compacting it in place. And at that point, maybe you need to have,
Except for
A
top
report.
grade, where if they develop that site.
well, there's already somebody at the bottom that's looking at that.
Yeah,
But-
okay.
But they're gonna fill it in also, is what I was talking to the guy about. They're gonna, I don't know. I feel like there's other ways to control it at a staff level if you're.
So are we changing it to 60?
I guess we could take a vote.
What is it now?
It's
You can make
50
it, you
now.
can make it generous. And if somebody wants to challenge it
Well,
and make it
I
smaller,
don't
they
follow
gotta
the
produce
reasoning for having.
some engineering reports.
I would suggest 60, but that can be waived with engineering reports.
Wait, what?
If they bring an engineering report saying, yes, this is stable ground, they can bring it to us, we can waive off the 60 and maybe go back to
I
the
think
40.
you'd leave it, but 60 from what?
The edge.
So right now, let me just go back to
Edge
the
of the
man-made,
slope to
to the
the,
man-made
foundation.
water body section. Item 4 says a minimum setback of 50 feet shall be maintained from the edge of excavation to the nearest point of any dwelling or accessory building.
I think that's fine.
So maybe
Right.
there's just an asterisk on that table with the minimum setbacks, say refer to section 4.
Well, this is inconsistent in a way because in this water body section, it has a 50-foot setback.
Right.
Back in our chapter 3, where our dwellings
Oh, it's a
section,
75.
So
it's 75 if you're on the, it's 40.
40,
or
right?
40.
Yeah.
So we either need to make or put an asterisk in this table that says if it's the man-made water body, it's
That's what,
50.
that's what I'm,
Or bring all these up to 50.
just bring them up
Or
to
take
50,
it
I
to
say
40.
Or
10 feet, what's
We're
it?
taking it.
I'm fine with 40.
I'll go all at 50.
50.
Are we in at 50?
Vote, take a vote?
I'm okay. Should we take a vote?
Yeah.
Who would like to, who says that they should be 40 feet setbacks? All right, let's say 50. All right.
60?
I don't want to quit.
50 it is. Be interested to see. How they look.
Well, that's, yeah,
Yeah.
but then you get into the dynamics and
Nice.
Does anyone need to take it like just a little
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
bio break at all?
Air
or- Before we get into signs?
Probably.
Okay, let's.
All right. Calling the meeting back to order. I just have one comment though, Renee, on back to 11-21, 17, number 17, C regarding topsoil. It says that it will be 4 inches in depth. I feel like we should add minimum 4 inches in depth.
Oh,
Hmm.
good observation.
All right,
That's it.
thank you. Sometimes it's hard to even get this.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes it's even hard to have 4.
Yeah. I know.
All right, signage. Any comments?
Yeah, on, page 12:3,
Page 12-3,
F,
F,
only through external illumination. I understand, well, I say this is that I think if we don't worry about the illumination method, whether it's internal or external, and be more concerned about brightness, size, flickering and all, and action signs, that kind of thing, it'll meet the goal, because you can have a beautiful internally lit sign. It's not obtrusive. It's all a matter of the design and how bright the thing is. I mean, if we have a white sign that's externally illuminated, incredible amount of light bouncing off that white sign, it's gonna be bright and obnoxious, potentially. So I'm just thinking, if we don't worry about how it's illuminated, worry about brightness, and you can measure that with an instrument. That might be another approach. You'll give a little bit more flexibility, especially with the, excuse me, where are we at here? Not allowing digital displays. I mean, I noticed the sign out in front of the fire department. It's pleasant. They change the message every couple of weeks. You know,
so is that still in here though?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought we already talked about all of
We
this.
did talk to
We
that
did.
in great
Yeah.
depth and
We
voted.
voted.
Yeah, we
So we're
agreed
not going
that,
back to it.
right.
but
Just think
That's
it's
okay to mention.
excessive,
Got it.
okay?
does the
Go
dark
to the
sky,
ZBA.
does the dark sky provisions also concern the signs?
Correct, they
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
We do have the signs in section 12.70, page 12-6. For the major home occupation. So the major can have a small sign, 3 square feet.
Hmm.
But not the minor.
Okay.
All right, and then moving into part 4, so this part of our ordinance relates to all of the review processes and standards. Denise had a similar comment on many of these about why we only have 3 decisions.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
So that is in. Well, that's in Article 14, but let's see if there's anything in Article 13 first.
Section 13.5,
13.5,
recommendations and final decisions are limited to,
approval with conditions, denial, or postpone,
okay,
or table. Yeah.
or table,
Or
yeah.
table.
Whether,
Well, somebody will miss that.
And then section 14.3.
Correct.
Oh, sorry. Did someone have something before that?
No.
Okay.
No.
30C, decisions, the planning commission shall decide. Oh, approval or denial. Yeah, I guess that conflicts with what we just read.
That
right?
exactly.
It
that's
does.
right.
14.30C1. Okay, so I'll make sure that we address that.
Yeah, we've got to be able to postpone or table pending.
Approve with conditions, yeah.
Because otherwise, if they say, well, I can get that for you. With this, we'd have to deny it on the spot.
Right.
All right. Any other?
does some of this, with the development side? You know, that, I just say, 14-4 surface water features, we talk about, if the development, site contains, one of these water bodies. And, talks about building it and, providing erosion control and those types of things, but there's no real time frames on any of those. And I only think about this because I'm thinking about like the Van Horn one. And that one sat for a while and there was a lot of, erosion that occurred along the banks of that one. And there's as-built that need to be still submitted for it but there's never any time frames on them. Is that something that maybe is established more to like the approval? Time of
Which section?
approval?
Back in the water body section or?
Well, I guess I'm just talking about here, if the development, I'm sorry, 14-4D surface water features, and I may be in the wrong, but if the development site contains a lake pond or stream, the development plan shall include such enhancements and restoration as necessary to provide wildlife habitat and improve aesthetics quality. And this is just saying what they should be done, but I sometimes I guess I just wonder, is there a spot where we put timeframes in, or is that something we do more at the approval process and establish that?
So we do have time frame in section 14.7. Right below there,
Oh, term validity.
Okay.
Compliance.
term validity and compliance.
Commence within 1 year.
B addresses completion.
Yeah,
And be. Okay, should occur within 2 years of approval. Okay.
and then when you're dealing with building permits too, I think building permits can expire as well, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
So this gives you the authority to give it a 1-year extension on your
Yeah.
own.
What's-
So, do we now require them to come to the planning commission? I mean, I just, do you want to have that authority, or do you want to make them come to us? So if there's a delay, instead of you being the bad guy, we can be the bad guy.
Let me just check right now what our,
That is a very vital issue that's pending right now.
I think that is probably best to come to the planning commission.
And I don't see a reason, if they're getting some sort of special use. Or site, a special site plan, or we've made some sort of changes. And it's not getting done. I think they should show us why we should give them an extension. Because, or we just wasting your time. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't get financing, they can't, they can't find the right architect, whatever. I would make them come back here.
Yeah. Yeah, any document, any plan that you approved, if there's an extension, should come back to you for that.
Okay,
Lenny, on, going back to that.
So that
same,
should be changed.
Article on, 14.4 D,
To
water surface
planning
features.
commission.
Planning PC.
Hold on, I'm just, let me make, okay,
Go ahead.
sorry, now what section?
Okay, on the 14-4 page, surface water features, the item we were just talking about, D, top of the page. Has there been any discussion about maintaining water quality, mosquito treatment, algae, that kind of thing?
We have not talked about that.
Want to go with that?
Is that what we had talked about with the invasive vegetation?
I think we did for the water body creation section. This is for just stormwater drainage ponds.
Yeah, we've got a big one in our neighborhood, and it's been an issue with regard to the regulations around keeping the water quality
Okay,
clear. And I was just wondering if it ever comes up here.
no, but we could add some language around that.
I don't know if we need it, but
But when we approve something with a stormwater pond, you might as well have some language. It doesn't have to be in here, but we just know to do it. That pond has to be maintained, and who's responsible to do that?
yes,
Because it'll be the developer until he sells all the lots, and that responsibility will then go to the owner of the property.
That's the issue that's circulating around in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
So the drain commission is responsible for keeping, maintaining generally the slopes and making sure the drain pipes and so forth are clear, but that's it.
But does a private pond that's in a community, I mean, that triggers an HOA, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
if
that would be
Yeah.
the HOA
Right.
maintaining it too.
Yeah.
But we can also have those standards,
Or just mention the fact that it will,
that it should be, remain clear, free from weeds and.
I don't know. This so we address the issue, whether we have to do anything about it or not, or maybe say it should be deferred to a homeowners association for that kind of work or something.
there must be language in the,
Yeah, and like a master deeder bylaws that
Yeah.
the attorney would review.
That's where ours is, and these are included in the master deed, that's where the regulations are. So I don't know if it's appropriate to put in here and that's where he's needed.
Can you remind me, I think we covered this last time we did this. But didn't we add in certain sections the requirement of an as-built?
We added that requirement of as-built when people are building municipal infrastructure, like, oh, extending water or sewer. That would then become part of the public system. And then we required the as-built for the water body, like a pond.
But not like PUDs or FOUs.
No,
Because I thought we had talked about that along the way.
it's not typical to get an as-built drawing with, say, like the hospital or something. We just compare it to the building plans
Okay,
before they get a certificate of occupancy.
but it's there for the man-made water.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and for any, again, underground water, sewer line.
Okay.
Anything like that. And then, I guess if you ever have a PUD or a special use and you feel the need that they provide an as-built set of drawings, that can be required by you in a condition of approval. I don't know when, I'd be interested to know when that would be
And I
necessary.
know a couple of years ago, there seemed to be a lot of talk about that. So I think when Dave joined us.
There was, but that was more to what Lenee's saying as far as like building a pond or record drawings of sanitary sewers and storm sewers and those things, but
Okay.
I don't think that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, record drawings,
Yeah.
yeah, so we know. We don't always have that information even now, so that would be helpful. All right, section 15, the special land use review process. I guess here we want to say the term for this one.
We have the same issue, we can approve or deny.
Yes,
It'd be nice to be able to postpone it, and then if they can't supply it, then we deny, but I
Be
would,
consistent, yeah.
but be consistent, we can postpone our table.
yeah. I got that same thing for the next section, planned unit development. The next section for PUDs, the extension has to come through the township board.
Okay,
Oh, I
Because,
wondered about,
because they were the, yeah,
Yes,
Exactly.
the initial approval comes.
exactly.
that's fine.
Okay.
Section 17C2. Let me see where that is.
Page 17(3).
Section, I'm looking at Denise's comments, I don't have page numbers. C.2.
It's on page 17(3), I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
All outside. I like this statement, but I believe this would be a change. So if I read it correctly, the planning commission will not approve the final site plan without these permits. It would no longer be a condition for approval.
Also, they have to have it done before,
Ooh.
No, it says as a condition of any approval. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
We wouldn't
condition
have
of
to
any-
necessarily have
sure.
those permits,
No.
but they would be required as a condition.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of the developers saying, I don't want to invest that amount of time and
Right.
money before I have an idea if I'm gonna get it.
Right. In that section 2, second to last line over to the right. The reference to Eagle is not spelled out properly. Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy.
Oh,
Oh. Good catch.
Or,
Yeah.
And again, since I'm looking at this one, like in 3, where it's in the parentheses section XX. Will those be filled in for the next draft, do we think, or?
I believe they will be. He said he was already working on
Okay.
those.
'Cause some are in green and some aren't, and I know there's a lot.
Yeah.
So I also sent this to the ZBA and the attorney and the fire district, so they have it all. We don't have their comments yet.
Okay.
Did it go to Nick and Ron, or just one of them?
Just Nick. Denise had some other comments. That I might just send to Dave directly that are, the condominium review, Article 19. Or sorry, let me move to variance, Article 18. She wants to make sure that this article gives the ZBA more direction on approving variances. And mentions that maybe they should have some training. And then Article 19, zoning amendment review, Section 19.30D. It says condominium and it should refer to zoning.
Oh.
Article 20. Section 20.40. She asked if this. Section page
20-2.
20-2. Denise asked if the ZBA has a vice chair or a secretary.
I don't think so. Do they? Okay.
It does say here, it references vice chair. There would be separate bylaws. I mean, this sort of repeats some things that are typically in the bylaws. Make sure we. Non-conformity, section 21. She just says, make sure this article is clear. Section,
I'm sorry, do you have a page on that?
hey, no, there's just a whole
He said the
chapter.
whole thing.
Yeah, she just said the whole chapter. Make sure this article is clear.
Oh. the whole article.
And then she said section 21.50. Expansion. Are we clear on what is allowed and what is not allowed? And I think we need to just have Dave look at this section again.
Okay.
All right, we're getting close to this.
I know. And then definitions,
So we're done with non-conformity.
yes, that's all she had. She said to remove definition of convenience and grocery store, since we don't have that.
Mhm.
The home occupation, make sure we're happy with those definitions. I'll just put a note that we need to verify that the definitions comport with what we're changing in the special use.
Oh,
Are we happy with grocery store?
No, we're gonna strike that.
it's going away.
We're taking that out.
Okay.
We felt that.
A store is a
detail.
Well,
store.
that's, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I just saw it there and it brought back a wonderful memory.
And then to remove the reference of personal and commercial storage units and the self-storage definition.
Right.
Any other changes?
On 2210, I think more about in hospitals to add medical facility. You'll ring the bell.
Page 2210.
The definition of hospital, so after, just after home office, I'm a little bit like.
No.
Well, there's no surgical, oh, maybe there are surgical procedures.
We're thinking of hospital.
So your question is,
Well, the note I wrote here is, does this cover a medical facility?
Well, you got outpatient and then inpatient facilities. So there's a lot of surgical centers which are walk-ins and walkouts.
Yeah, because we don't have
We hope
medical
to walk out, but
facility.
this says inpatient and not out,
I carry out.
right?
yeah, the hospital
It
is,
says inpatient here, but not outpatient. Would it mostly be outpatient?
Well, I think you've got hospitals where people go for a couple of days, and then you've got people just go in for the day and they're out the same day. Completely different facilities, types of facilities. So
I guess we.
I
don't think it makes any
this
difference.
covers like what we're building.
I think that would be under general offices and services,
Oh,
the
really?
page prior to
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
It says,
There's
medical,
Okay, I see.
a facility other than a hospital where an outpatient, where medical, dental, mental health, surgical,
Okay,
outpatient.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the middle there where it says medical,
Mhm.
I'm just questioning, does that make sense to have the word medical in a period?
So
I mean, I
remember
guess-
before he had the definitions in separate sections,
Mhm.
but we asked them to be all combined.
mhm.
No, I see some of them are here, like financial services.
But
Maybe those
They could
should
be
be bolded.
bolded,
right?
yeah,
That would-
golden,
Okay,
bold the
that's a good
headings.
point.
Yeah, I know, as I look at it again, I see there's more of them. Oh,
or
that's
bold the
just their
subheadings.
words. So bolding would help.
Bold or underline or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, and that covers,
That's good.
makes me clear.
Cool.
Mhm.
That's all I got.
Wow. We can't be done so eagerly, right? Come
Well,
on,
I
Tim.
do have another topic to talk about.
Oh,
Mm.
No, it's the lot area conversation. If that were, I just made it seem one.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if I emailed this to you or not.
You did,
You did. You came with the, agenda,
Oh, good.
just with the yellow.
Oh, okay, great.
Right, yeah, we don't have it.
Okay, cool. I made copies, so I thought tonight would be, we don't have to discuss tonight,
Sorry.
if we don't discuss it, I don't know that the changes will be in the next version, so. I guess I wanted to revisit maybe I should get the zoning now. So we see it bigger.
Wait,
We
one
have a zoning poster.
Out of the-
Closet.
We don't have to do, though.
You don't have a new one.
I mean, the old was fine too.
Probably got in the face, but
Yeah, okay, so you have your new map.
Okay,
Yeah.
So the few that I wanted to talk about are highlighted, so specifically the R2 and the R4. The R2, you'll see on your map, includes a lot of the Kalamazoo Lake, Kalamazoo River, Silver Lake. I believe it's the orange color in your zoning map. We currently, and then there's also some parcels up to the north, along
Yeah.
the channel.
Yeah.
So our current lot area requirement there is 65,000 square feet. And, in our proposed ordinance, that's proposed to be reduced quite a bit. And I'm I guess just a
What's that,
little bit.
what's that in acres?
Acre and a half.
Oh,
And so right now, the proposal is going down to 40. If you don't have water without, that's what the WO means, sorry, without water, municipal water and sewer. And then the 30,000 square feet width.
with water, yeah.
And I guess I didn't know that, I was just curious because in our master plan, it's pretty specific about the waterfront areas, the riverfront areas, and it says that the density shall not be like reduced, made smaller.
Right.
And I remember us wanting to be consistent with our master
Right.
plan.
Mhm.
So I guess my thought is to return to where we were with those lot areas. Okay.
I think you're right too.
Yeah.
I make a
It's
suggestion
great.
that measurement units are all in acres.
I was just thinking that it would help some of us. that
I mean,
don't speak all that language.
85.
I mean, at a minimum,
Oh,
I-
Eight doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I feel like if you don't have sewer and water, I think it's pretty typical that you want to have an acre lot
Oh,
anyway.
yeah,
so-
at least.
Yeah.
Just-
Right.
sure.
You're gonna have septic,
42,000.
drain
So
field,
I-
all
I
that stuff.
Yeah.
I think going back to the 65 makes sense.
Okay.
And then that's one of those things that, you know, we're gonna approve this, and then what I would recommend is that we have a sunset review after 1 year, and get a report from you and Cindy as to what's working and what's not. So if there's something that needs to be tweaked, just because we finish this month doesn't mean we don't have to touch it for 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good idea every
So,
year.
yeah, I would go back to 65.
Okay. All right, that's all I got.
So that is only in
Water.
R2, 3, and 4, or?
R2, R4, oh, what about commercial? So commercial C1.
Yep.
Right now, our C1 is, boy, that's about 2 acres, 85,000. And we're going
1 acre.
down to 1 acre. But remember that our C1 on the map is different. It's in a different location than where C1 used to. It's the same location, we just have a different mix of uses. Because our ordinance didn't really follow that pyramid of intensity before.
So are you
So
okay
I'm
with the
okay with
smaller?
the C1 as is, actually. But
As
I
is
just-
here, the
As
smaller.
is proposed. And then for the A1 frontage. I don't know why we changed it from 165, maybe just to be consistent. With the A2.
Thank you.
So I didn't really have an issue, but it's 15 feet. And then the other thing that was different in A2 proposed So our current E2 is interesting. It says 2.5 acres for single family and two family, and then 5 acres for any other use. Our new ordinance, our proposed, just says 2.5 across the board. There's no 5 acre for some other use.
So like a condo or a special unit could be 2.5.
Could be 2.5, yeah. Each condo unit would be 2.5. Each house. Condo unit would be 2.5. But a church, for example, or campground. Right, could be 2.5. Anything other than a house. Or
I don't know if I'd want a campground at 2.5 acre.
That's pretty
Small
tiny.
campground.
Yeah. So do we want to bring that provision back that anything other than the houses would be 5 acre?
Be 5 acres
That
and then,
seems
and then they can bring it as a special land use and bring it to us if they want us to modify it. For some reason, they have a 4.5 acre parcel. And
We can't do that. They'd have to get a variance.
okay, so, but there, in other words, we can go to the 5 acre, but there's a bailout. So if there is a 4.5 acre parcel that it otherwise fits and is intelligent, except for they're shy 1/2 acre, they can get a variance, the project could move forward.
They could if they qualified for a variance.
All right.
Mhm.
So do you want to vote on that? Or?
I don't have any problems with going back to the 5, but
I agree.
I don't know, Greg.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Are we still in definitions or not?
No, we're
Nope.
looking at this table for right now. We
So
can
it's
go
still
back.
in-
I did not highlight the R1. You'll note that we did change it a little bit. It went down. But that was intentional because we are trying to have more
More
density where we have water and sewer. So I didn't want you to think wasn't calling that out for a reason. It was just, these were some of the major changes that conflicted with master plan stuff.
Thanks for finding.
But back to that,
Finding that out.
but back to our earlier comment with the R1 without, I mean, we just talked about wanting a minimum of an acre for,
It doesn't have to
Septic
be the
and
43,000
well.
square feet to be 1 acre for the
Yeah.
water and sewer.
So,
Oh, true.
yes, we could, okay.
But was that because it was next to water?
No, it's just for the water and sewer.
just for a septic field and a
Septic field.
well and.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought that was only because it was near a body of water that we wanted to increase it.
Well, right now, I think, doesn't the county require 1 acre for a septic
Typically,
field?
that's sort of the common
That's
practice,
the norm.
but it does depend on your soil types. So I think if you have more sandy soils, maybe they would allow something smaller. But
I would leave it at 1 acre. I just,
We don't even have a 1/2 acre, I don't think, and we've got septic.
Yeah, because you might have soils.
Very sandy.
I don't know.
It's pretty typical to have 1 acre, but
Right now it's 40,000.
which is just under 1 acre.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So-
your 40,000 would be okay. I mean, that's,
acres 43.5,
Yeah,
43.56.
right. I'm gonna get that like tattooed on my arm.
Yeah.
Someday. Planner.
Just got a cheat sheet on your arm,
40.
like quarterback.
Okay, do we want to do the 1 acre?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right, and then moving back to definitions. John, did you want to talk?
Oh, yeah, I just had a note. did either you or Dave on page 2213? We had talked about contacting Eagle and Ace for marina definition.
Oh, yeah.
He has been looking for that. He has been in contact. I don't know that he has successfully found anything.
So you'd asked them directly and they don't have one?
He's looked online and hasn't found anything,
Well,
so
does
he
he
wanted to.
call them?
I'll talk to him about that. I know he's.
I'm happy to do that. I just thought that, I was trying to find some like Ganges Township ordinances online, and it's not like ours, you can't search.
Oh,
It's like 97 pages and there's no search tool, like.
The reason why we have marina in there twice?
That's a good point.
I thought we mentioned that.
I think, seems like we did, yeah.
How do you get there for that reason?
I don't know, we liked one of them better than the other, I think.
Oh, yes, we did talk about that. Yeah, we deleted one of them.
Why didn't I cross it out?
I don't remember which one it was. I don't have my copy.
I wrote it down. Goodness,
Very simple.
all right.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay, well, let's move past, close old business then and move on to public comments, and non-agenda items or, well, whatever. Joe, do you have any public comment by chance or no? Okay.
Thank you.
Nobody, right? So we'll open and close, public comment period, move on to, the commissioner comments. Anyone have any comments? No? Okay. I think Lene covered everything she had with earlier with the with our letter from the attorney and all that. So so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You don't want to order people?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's not on here. I forgot, we did have a meeting.
You always are.
it usually is. I think it wasn't in September because we had already I used the format from the September.
But you're right, John, you have had a board
That's because
meeting.
Right.
We have had a board meeting since our last one, so yes, we would love one.
That could be right. We got out of sync. Yeah, we met on October 11th. Everyone was present. In public comment, County Commissioner Dean Kapika and our county clerk, that's both with updates on veteran services, elections in 2024, and housing fraud schemes. Ingrid Boyer, who's the head of the library, spoke and answered 4 questions on the open board seat on the township. I forget if you heard last month. Last month, we tabled the library appointment. There was one applicant.
Mhm.
And ironically, the one applicant has since moved to Lake Town. I don't know because of our actions, but he didn't reapply. This time though, because everything was properly posted and better done. Like our policy, we had 5 candidates apply for the seat. 3 of them attended the meeting, spoke and answered questions. 3 were Kelly Lewis, Aaron Olison, and Frank Aiello. Board voted unanimously to appoint Frank Aiello to the library board. He's a software engineer and former science teacher with experience in library catalog. Blue Star Highway Roundabout. We had an update on the potential design for the roundabout, which may not actually allow for placement of a sculpture. So, but we have purchased the sculpture and we have it in hand. Today, we also got the check from the CVB covering most of the costs. So stay tuned on that. We also had to approve revisions to the agreement with Veritas. They're the design firm working with us on the roundabout design as more information comes from the county in terms of the size and how much room is for landscaping, etc. We voted to approve a on-premise liquor license from the state for Blue Star Brewery. That was approved, and our recommendation is now gone to the liquor control. Let's see. This is pretty cool stuff. The Blue Star Corridor Intersection and Safety Request for Proposal. We approved language to issue an RFP to conduct a safety study of Blue Star Highway, which will include analysis of 8 key intersections, historic crash study, and the need for safe pedestrian and bicycle crossings. Goal is to have that study completed by February of 2024. We approved the election agreement with the city of Saugatuck. I think I told you last month that, with these 9 days of early voting, the state's allowing municipalities to do things together. So the city of Saugatuck voters will vote here only for the 9 days, not the day of the election. And I just threw this in. They have 850 registered voters and we have 2,997. Most of whom do vote by absentee, but that's the site. Oh, Lakeshore Drive washout. I brought this up, came up at our meeting last month. I shared concerns with some planning commissioners regarding that property on Lakeshore Drive at the washout, which has been used by an adjacent homeowner as their own property. And we discussed here requesting the county road commission restore it to public land and allow for a bike trail connection. I was told by our manager that the road commission had shared findings in a report already detailing why a bike trail cannot be created there. I haven't seen that.
Oh, well.
We might want to ask for it.
We'll let them come back from the vacation first.
Okay, so I didn't name any names. I just said it came up. We're gonna meet next on November 8th, 6 p.m. Township Hall. Questions,
Thank you.
comments?
I have the moratorium on the agenda.
Excellent, yeah. I'll make a note too, just to be safe.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So,
And
so
When
adjourned.
is the training?
it's not.
Next,
Oh,
uh,
Yeah.
Your
next-
training is next
No,
Tuesday.
yeah, week from